if you are in that slump, just pick a couple of things that are just quick wins that you know you can do with minimal effort, but you will achieve something at the end of it. And then for me, that's that feeling of like, okay, I'm back, right? I like that feeling. I'm now going to chase that feeling a little bit more of feeling good about myself.
Welcome to the Red Print, your wellness podcast. My name is Daanish Shah.
My name is Neil Sutherland.
And I'm Rachel Williams.
And today we're going to be talking about motivation. Specifically,
what it feels like when you're in a slump and why that doesn't mean that you're being lazy.
How you can stop procrastinating and keep yourself motivated.
And practical steps to get you where you want to be. So guys, what do you think? I know, Neil, you recommended this topic. What do you think of it? We both recommended it. We both enjoy, all three of us, motivation. What is it? What does it feel like when you're unmotivated? I know we've touched upon it in the past couple of podcasts as well.
So my reasoning for suggesting it was because last week I had definitely one of those sort of weeks where I was feeling really like generally and ambiently just unmotivated. Not in the sense that like I wasn't getting stuff done, but just that I was feeling sort of really apathetic throughout the week. And there was those bits, when you're just not able to get that same like get up and go and excitement about something. And I found that really interesting. And I've talking about these things as we do and just in general, I've started becoming more curious about when I'm feeling different to what I do normally. I'm starting to feel curious about, okay, well, why is that? Why am I feeling like that in that moment? And especially afterwards, when you come out on the other side of something, is to reflect on it. And instead of just going, oh, cool, all right, this week feels like a normal week to me. Let's get on with it. I've actually found it really interesting this week to reflect on that week. Think, I wonder what was happening there. Like, I wonder what was it that was at work that led to me feeling differently. So that's what I'm looking forward to talking about today, because I'm definitely prone to certain weeks or days or afternoons or whatever, where my motivation and my level of just general enjoyment of things just takes a bit of a momentary dip.
There are days where you may be doing the same task in a day where you feel like, yeah, let's go. It's fresh in your mind, potentially, if you're doing a project or just in general, student-wise, an assignment, group work, everyone's like fresh off a start, like, yeah, let's do it. And then as time creeps in, you're like, can I be bothered? Like, it's not the same fire in your heart, because it just flickers away, I guess. However, the thing is normal to feel like that, because you can't stay motivated 24/7. Of course, there are ways to build up your drive, like being grateful, thinking about why you're doing it in the first place, putting the right intent behind it. However, you just have to push through it, I guess. Like, Neil, how did you feel like once you pushed through it, and then as you got towards the end, did you feel like you still got it done? Like, how was that experience between both scenarios?
I think there's multiple ways, and it'd be interesting to unpack this about the ways to get through, or whether it is about getting through it. What was interesting in this case, my tendency normally is to keep pushing myself, and is to keep saying, right, well, I'm very good at creating lists and doing, and getting X, Y, Z thing. And sometimes that can work. So sometimes pushing through and just kind of keeping yourself going, so that can be really useful, and we'll talk about some of those techniques. Otherwise, actually, this was one where I had to do almost the opposite and just accept that what was happening, and accept that it was something. So, I mean, let's start by talking about what that feels like, right? When we're in those moments, because we all know what it is, that feeling. And sometimes you might wake up with it one day. Sometimes it might be something that halfway through the day, suddenly this comes over you, this sort of like, what's the word? Malaise.
Yeah, it's just like it hits you, and you're just like, one example I felt as well, I feel as well, it's not something that goes away. Okay, so you're in bed and you want to do something. Let's say, for example, I want to get up, have some breakfast, go do some exercise. Because right now I'm doing a program where an element is 2 workouts a day, one has to be outside. Okay. Some days I don't want to wake up and go straight outside. Okay. You know, when you're comfy in bed, okay, and you just want to stay there. You're like, let me just let this pass. It goes into, I suppose, it touches upon anxiety. Like you just can't really be bothered. Really, you're like, why? Why do I need to do this? Wouldn't it just be fine if I just don't do it? I can just leave it till tomorrow. Like, I think that's human because you can't exactly be on all cylinders 24/7 because then you'll just burn out.
Do you both feel, so the thing that I kind of always play in my head, the loop that plays when I'm in one of those moments, is that I'm being lazy.
Yes.
Right, that I'm being lazy by not doing this thing. Like I know I've got this task or these tasks or whatever it is, and by not doing it, I am shirking my responsibility. I'm being lazy. So I play that narrative. And you know, what are the things that we do in those times? What are the I was reading an article about this recently and saying, what are your greatest hits of procrastination? And we will all have, every single person has going to have certain things that you do that you can tell that you are procrastinating. So for me, for example, I know that a classic one is like, I tell myself, oh, I'm not really in the right mood to do this. So especially if it's a creative task.
Yeah.
Like if I've got to like write a lecture, or if I'm creating something, or if I'm, you know, whatever it is, oh, I'm not quite in the right mood for this. I'm not really feeling inspired enough to be able to do this. So I'm actually going to put this off because, you know, I'll wait till I'm in the right mood. And then of course what happens is I'm never really in the right mood to do it. So I've got that one. What else do I have? I definitely like to fill my day with not meaningless, but like very small menial tasks. So instead of, I know I've got this big thing, but I'm like, oh, well, what I'll do is I definitely need to, you know, I'll clear my emails, or I'll just clear up that Blackboard site, or I will sort my references out, my lecture, and I'll fill my time with lots and lots of little things that are making me feel productive, but actually they're not making me feel very good, because every one of those that I'm doing, I'm basically watching that clock, and in my head I'm thinking, you're not doing that job you meant to do.
Yeah.
So there's some of my kind of things that when I'm doing that, I know I'm procrastinating.
So let's say, for example, when you don't want to do something, in that moment where you're like, I don't want to do it, you flip around and get it done. Okay, because it's not festering in your mind. It's not sucking away your energy. Okay. So you flip it around, you get it done. However, the longer you leave it, the harder it will be to get it done. Okay, so motivation, it ties into discipline, I guess, don't you think? Because you have 2 options when you have a task. You either do it or don't. That's really it. There's no other way around it, more or less. So as long as you understand the points, okay, pivot around it. So don't keep on thinking about it. Just get started on it. Like assignment wise, let's say an average one would be 2,000 words, 2,500 words. Okay. So you're motivated maybe at the very beginning of the term. You're like, okay, I got this. There's enough time. I don't have to worry about it. And then as it creeps closer to a deadline, your motivation dies down because potentially you haven't really looked at it that much. When you're like, oh, crap, I mentioned it in the last podcast, it's falling down on you like a ton of bricks. However, you can use that pressure to literally drive you forward, because at the end of the day, discipline, pressure, motivation, they all tie together in one gift package.
You are speaking to my heart right now. Because I am, and I liked what you said as well, but it linking to anxiety. I think there's a massive link between being demotivated and feeling anxious. And right now, I have got a lot of marking. So that's my situation right now. And it's like a big task. And I think that's how students feel as well, sometimes, especially with like dissertations, assignments. It feels like this massive thing in the future. And it makes me think a bit of a theory that we cover in some modules called Vroom's expectancy theory. And part of that is about believing you can do it. Like, if you don't think it's possible for you to do something, you're not going to do it. You're not motivated to do it. That's one of like one of the key ingredients for being motivated is feeling like it's even possible to do. And so what I try and do to keep myself motivated is break it down. And it's boring advice, really. Break it down into small chunks. I'm just doing 10 a day. I'm marking 10 scripts a day, making it manageable. I also listen to music to get myself like pumped and motivated and be like, you can do this, you can get it done. And similar to what you said as well about the switch, or I can't really, the pivot.
Yes.
The thing that I say to myself, which is really weird, is put your bum on the seat. And like, I find, because I heard a quote ages ago, like over a decade ago, I don't even know where I read it or I heard it, and it just said, take the body and the mind will follow. And that's kind of, that's something else I say to myself. I'm like, right, put your bum on the seat, put your phone on silent, just do it. Like you said, you know, quoted Nike as well, just do it. Like, don't think too much about it. It doesn't need to be good. It doesn't need to be perfect. Just do it. Just sit there, get it done. And that's how I motivate myself, making it, you know, breaking it into chunks and convincing myself that it is even possible to do.
You become more confident the more you complete the tasks you originally set out to do, because you're keeping promises to yourself. I believe when I'm unmotivated, when I'm lazy, it's when I'm not keeping the promises to myself. Because you beat yourself up a little bit. Like, we keep on going back to this, it does link to anxiety, because when you beat yourself up, you don't feel 100%. When you're unmotivated, you don't feel 100%. However, what you can do is list out, as you said, it can be a task at hand that's really important for you to get done in a day. You can just list them all out.
And I love that. And so what I do is I will put the task I need to do at the start of the day. I'm quite like an early bird. I like to get up early, just get stuff done. And then what I do is I just chill out and I just do other things.
Yeah.
So yeah. And this links as well to motivation and Vroom's expectancy theory, making it nerdy again, because that's my favorite motivation theory. But another thing about Vroom's expectancy theory, another ingredient that you need is a reward that you care about and you want. So I will give myself rewards. I'll be like, Rachel, if you mark 20 scripts, which is more than you need to, but if you mark 20, you can play Animal Crossing, or you can go for a walk at 14 Locks, or you can do whatever it is that you want to do. So I reward myself. And then I do feel super satisfied and excited for having got something done, even if it doesn't take that long. Sometimes the thing that you've got in your head, like, you know, a 2,000-word assignment, you feel like it should take forever. And sometimes you make it take forever because you feel like it should take forever.
Yeah.
And when you actually do it, it doesn't always take that long. So if I start something early, get it done, and then move on with my life, have fun, and feel really satisfied. I don't anymore, at this point in my life, I don't have a voice telling me I'm lazy or I'm not doing enough. And because I realized this before, because I was talking to Neil once and he was like, Rachel, do you ever feel like you're not being productive enough? And I was like, no, which makes me sound like I'm super productive, but I'm not.
Sorry,
but
it also makes me sound like I'm trying to do some sort of line managing work of being like, Rachel, do you feel like you're actually not being very productive right now? Like a passive aggressive, like, I think you need to be more productive.
I don't need to be more productive. No, it was relevant for the conversation. Like, he wasn't testing me, but I genuinely don't have that anymore. I feel like I don't like place a value on myself anymore about how much I'm getting done. Like, yeah, there are things I need to, and I feel like it's made me more motivated in a way, because it's like I've just taken that power away from it in a way. It just hasn't got that the same level of like gravity or weight, like whether or not I get something done, which means actually that I think I get stuff done because I'm just not constantly analyzing it. I don't worry about the voice in my head. It doesn't matter what that's saying. I'm just gonna like sit down, put my bum on the chair and do some marking.
When you're saying about that voice and that internalized voice, the reason why we procrastinate isn't because we're lazy. Like we might think that, but ultimately what it is, the reason why we procrastinate is because we are afraid of failing if we do it. And I think that's the really interesting part about procrastination, is to recognize why we're doing it. It's not because we don't want to do the task. It's actually probably because we really want to do that task. We really want to write that essay and we really want to do well. But because we want to do so well, that can immobilize us, and that can then put us into this kind of destructive pattern, really, of then not doing it. We want it so much that we're not doing it. So then the question becomes, well, what do we do about that? And I think that's when we start getting into the point of, okay, recognize when you're starting to do that thing. Recognize when those actions come into place. This is what I do when I'm procrastinating. And then can start to reframe, and all of these sorts of ideas about, doing the big job first. And I think just recognizing that is why we are procrastinating. It's not because you're lazy. It's actually the opposite of it. It's because you want to do well, and you can use that energy to then carry you forward into doing stuff.
When you're about to do a task, you have a certain amount of energy. It can build up. It can build up. It can build up. It can build up. Why don't you just use that instead of letting it stay within you? Just use it for your task, because you have energy for a reason. At the end of the day, use it, because if you use it and you're in line with the task at hand, okay, you have the right intent behind the task. Because an experience I go through is I do a task and then I'm like, you're not really focused 100%. But when you align the intent behind it, you're like, I know why I'm doing this. I'm doing it for X, Y, Z. Okay, I'm doing it because of this goal I have.
You're giving it purpose. You're then acting with purpose rather than just acting arbitrarily to complete something where I've got an essay, therefore I must complete it. It's no, I'm doing this because of this particular purpose. And that might be, Rachel, you're talking about, those rewards and those kind of short-term rewards of things. And that's 100% how I get through any day, and like how I do things. So I just organize it around job and reward. But then we've got these longer term things as well. And that is what gives you that purpose to do something. And that's when you can start to be more active in your decisions about what you do and how you do it, rather than just, oh, there's a job on my plate. I've got a list of things to do on my to-do list. Why are you doing them? I just got to do them. Just got to do them. Well, if you've got in your mindset that I've just got to do it, then that's when you have to reframe it. And you have to reframe, I've got to, and this being this big weight on you, to I want to do it. And you've got to find some way of reframing it, whatever that is.
Beautiful. You've just two like excellent points I've just heard. Right. Daanish, I loved your point about the idea of energy, and like anxiety is energy. So it's like you've got, it takes energy to be anxious, and you've got all this like pent up energy. So being anxious is exhausted. You might as well sit down and, exhausting, not exhausted. But you might as well sit down and do some work or whatever, and kind of get it out somehow. So I really like that point. And also Neil's point, I think it links to what we've spoken about in the first podcast as well, about Albert Ellis and masturbation. This idea of I have to do this, I must do this. And I think I would sort of build on Neil's point as well about the reasons we do things, and be honest with yourself about that. Like, be honest with yourself about what you want and what your goals are. And it's okay if they're not the same as someone else. It may be that on this particular assignment, you know what, your goal and your aim is to just pass. Your goal, your aim is to just get 50. And maybe there's another assignment that you are interested in and passionate about and matters for your future career a bit more, and you want a higher mark or whatever. Everyone's got different things they're aiming for, and don't feel like you have to want the same things as everyone around you.
When you're actually doing something, it doesn't feel as bad. Like when you're doing the assignment, it doesn't feel as bad when you are thinking about doing it. It could be anything. Like your mind just makes up these stories that it's going to be harder than it is. It's not. It just doesn't want you to do it. It just wants to bring you down. Why are you letting your own mind bring you down? I think, on a side note, I think getting what is most important out of the day first thing in the morning, first thing when you wake up, or throughout the day, because you only have a certain amount of energy throughout the whole day. As long as you designate certain tasks that need to get done, you can relax after that, because you're getting what needs to be done completed. it's not going to be in your head. You're not going to be worrying about anything like that. So just
I've
breaking
heard that.
down.
Oh, sorry,
Yeah?
I've heard that being referred to as "eat the big frog first." I can't
That's
remember
what
exactly where it comes
called.
from, but
I
yeah,
thought it was like horse or something like that. But I was like,
yeah, eating the eating the big frog first, and then, or whenever you're most productive. Some people are more, they like, doing the big stuff in the evenings or just after lunch or whatever. Yeah, for me, it's like first thing. If I can get a couple of big jobs done first thing,
the win as well.
Yeah, and then you've won. And then I don't know if you both find this, but I do find as well, I'm going to contradict this a little bit later with how I actually got out of my slump last week. But I find for me, the more I do, the more I do. So if I have jobs and if I'm like on a roll, and once I've done a couple of things, I feel good about having done those couple of things because
momentum starts rolling.
Yeah, and then you can do other jobs. So I find I could have a day where I've got one task and not achieve that one task. You could put that exact same task into a day when I've got 15 other jobs, and I'll do all 15 jobs in a couple of hours. But that one task, if it's just on its own, feels so huge and so weighted. It's like, oh, I can't be bothered to get into it now. I can't bother to get into it now. I'll do it later. But otherwise, if I've just got a list of things, I'm like, cool, what's next? That one, great. Get that done. And so for me, once I get back on that roll and just take a couple of things and I think if coming back to it, if you are in that slump, is just pick a couple of things that are just quick wins that you can do with minimal effort, but you will achieve something at the end of it. And then for me, that's that feeling of like, okay, I'm back, right? I like that feeling. I'm now going to chase that feeling a little bit more of feeling good about myself.
And something else that you can do is, have you heard about gamification? Gamifying things. So the same way so video games and apps on your phone are designed to make you get that like quick hit of dopamine, to make you feel like you're getting somewhere, you're achieving something, and they draw you in that way. And you can do that in your life. You can, even list making is a small, simple way of gamifying things, crossing things off. I sometimes will make like little grids and diagrams, and like say if I have marked a script, I might like color in a box on a sheet, and I know like how many I have to get through, and I do things like that. Or once I've done one script, because that's where I am at the moment, is in marketing land, I might like get up and have a little dance and then sit down again. Or I might like I'll just try and make it more fun. And that's something you can look into. There's a whole literature on gamification. So if that's something sounds like it could be fun for you, check it out.
All right, so today we have spoken about a whole variety of things. We've spoken about lack of motivation. We've spoken about procrastination, what it feels like when you're not motivated, how you can get out of not being motivated, the fact that it doesn't mean you're lazy. What else have we spoken about? We've spoken about getting out of that. We've spoken about gamifying it. We've spoken about practical tasks of how you can do that. What have been your favorite takeaways, everybody? Your favorite one thing, if you're like, I'm going to try that thing, what would it be? Or I'm going to continue doing this thing.
I liked Daanish's point about the pivot. I like that. As simple as it sounds, to just make that flip and do it, I think that's really helpful. Yeah, because taking the thought out of it, I think, helps sometimes. You're not thinking, should I do it? Shouldn't I do it? Should I do this other thing? Like, whatever, am I in the right mood? Let's have a think about that. No, don't do that. Just do it. Like, I like the pivot. So thanks for that, Daanish.
That's all right. I think with my favorite point, I suppose, one about I need to implement is shifting the voices. So instead of saying lazy and stuff like that, because I understand that it can build up, of course. I can change, like, you just need to get this done, and I just need to break it down into further bits, because then I can see it and be like, cool, done straight away, done. It'll be easier to tick off the box. So making it not easy to tick off, but within reason, I know I can do it, and it will push me just a little bit more at the end of the day.
Yeah. And I am definitely going to, it's something that I think I've been sort of trotting around, but the idea of really gamifying things and really making it, getting in that that reward system, but also treating it as something of doing it in little bits and pieces and treating it as a game is absolutely going to be the way to, like, I know exactly how my brain works, and that's most definitely what is going to be the thing that keeps me going.
Like
I appreciate everybody's advice on that. I feel like we've learned a lot here.
It was fun. It was beautiful. It was great.
Yes, if you listen to this, talk to your friends, have a chat, find out what motivates them and steal their ideas, because that's what I'm doing in these sessions.
That's what we're learning. Plagiarism works.
Exactly.
It does.
Quotes to take out of context. Excellent. Right then, everybody.
Bye.
So,
Great fun. See you later. Bye.
that's going to wiggle.